Boom, we are live. Welcome to, well, those are my settings still. Welcome to Tokyo Tonight. I am Hikosaemon. I am here every week. I am not quite so messed up this week because I took a double dose of my hay fever meds. The butakusa, the pig grass, is still kicking my ass. I'm sorry to everybody who was so distracted by that play button on 2.5 Oyajis last night. It's been there for a long time. I guess I was just sort of leaning back in my seat and it was a bit obvious last night. But yes, I am here. I'm feeling actually good enough that I can talk. Sometimes talking is what seems to generate it, but I don't know. I'm good. I'm hoping you guys are all good. Let's see who's here. Say hello and get into what's been going on in the news. As has been the case lately, I have not prepared a magazine, a Flipboard Magazine. I've been getting kind of busy lately. I've had a lot of stuff sort of on. And I just find it is a lot to prepare those magazines. So rather than do that, I am just going to go through my tweets. Yeah, well, I'll come to that in a minute. But yeah, and you can see my different sort of flipboards here as well that I've got. Let's go into this and see who's in the comments. We got Call 5 from New Zealand, so kia ora, tēnā koe. Good to see you, and it must be, Jesus, like 3 o'clock in the morning, of course, because you're 4 hours ahead, so thank you for joining. Mr. Cordy Chep, Robert Old Dude, Matagajinka, Baka-san, Tokyo Twilight, Sortius, good to see everybody there. Who else we got in the comments here? We got the Sergeant Bilko, Barringer, and that looks Afex, Vero-chan, good to see Vero-chan. Robert Ryan, excellent to see you, sir. Who was that I saw? I was about to say a name, and there's Mr. Corey Chep, Odie Jr. There was like Musashi Mark. There we go, Musashi Mark, good to see you. And Phoenix 787, good to see you, man. And good to see everybody. Good to be here. There's a lot going on at the moment. It's kind of interesting. I actually, I don't normally pay a lot of attention to subscribers and stuff like that. In fact, usually I forget to check, but I did just notice actually tonight. I have noticed recently I am slowly getting up towards the 10k mark on Twitter. I'm up to like 9,000 and what am I up to? 9,960 odd at the moment, so I've got like 40 to go, and I've got about the same number left to go to get to 35,000 on YouTube. Not that really means anything, but frankly both my Twitter and my YouTube have kind of plateaued lately, so you know the growth isn't as fast as it is with a lot of channels, even though it's quite, you know, it's quite a lot of people. Yeah, it is kind of nice to reach another milestone on both of them. I'm wondering which one I'm going to hit first, actually, whether it's going to be YouTube or Twitter. Twitter feels a bit more active, actually, so it might be that, but it is kind of nice, and I think I am going to do something to mark the Twitter event when I get to it. 10,000 is a nice big number, and yeah, I think that it's a good. I'll probably do a live stream on Periscope, but I'm sure I will also record it for YouTube, and I'll talk a little bit about my Twitter world, which is very different to my Facebook world, which is very different to my YouTube world. But this is one of those areas where it interacts because I go through the tweets that I do during the week. So yeah, and how many of those am I following? Ask Phoenix. Of the 10,000. I used to follow back everybody, and I got an app to follow everyone back, to mark down, so I could do it really easily and just, you know, mark off one by one all the people I wanted to follow back. Only thing was, when I got behind on that and I tried following people back, like, you know, after a couple of weeks, I would get my account would get stopped because it would think that I was spamming, even though I was only following back people who were following me. So as a result, I got lazy about that, and maybe you can see here. Boom. With my account info, it's 6,000, so you can see where I lost my motivation. It was about 2/3 the way through. I still do try to follow back now, although I also, you know, it's Twitter, so there's a lot of bots, there's a lot of naked ladies and you know, penis extenders and, you know, all sorts of accounts there that, you know, I do look at each one and decide whether I want to follow this person back or not. But I do follow most people back now, every now and then. Yeah, that's a nice number there, 9963. So it's kind of cool. But yes, that is something that is coming up. Other things that are coming up this Friday, October 21st, I will be doing a live stream with Rochelle Klopp, a special edition of Japan Business Time, which we will be doing live from the Ginza hub in Ginza, with the information is on the Facebook event page. The event in Ginza will probably start at about 7 p.m. We will live stream from 8 to 9 p.m. wrap up by 9:30. Do it as a bit of an ask me anything for a show. It should be a lot of fun, a bit of a different, more interactive than the usual videos that we do where we just talk to one another. It's kind of a taste of what her seminars perhaps are a bit like. I've been to those, so those are very prepared and it won't be like that. But yes, that should be a lot of fun and I'm looking forward to that. You can join us for that. The other big news, of course, is on November 27, and pardon me, I do need to blow my nose now. Ooh, I wish I could mute. I guess I can mute that. I should check that functionality. I should be able to briefly mute that when I blow my nose, so that you don't have to listen to that. I'm sorry about that. It is hay fever. All of the drugs are working reasonably well at the moment. Hey, Stormtrooper 109, good to see you. Nicholas Rapp, good to see you as well. So the other one is that on November 27, there will be another English language creator day for people with between 1 and 50,000 subscribers. It is an awesome course. The feedback was fantastic last time. Hey, good to see you, Dean. Dean's been making some awesome music as a member of the Tokyo Digital crew recently on SoundCloud, so make sure you go and check that out. I've been uploading a lot myself. So yes, the very awesome Creator Day, which has kind of the secret sauce recipe for boosting your channel and getting the most out of all the tools that YouTube gives you to try to get a very big, an active channel. But also the really good part about the last one was the discussion among the creators that we got going, and that's what I really want to get going again, and we will have more time and more resources to do that this time, so it should be a lot of fun. Hey Icarus 18, good to see you. Yes, the hay fever does indeed suck. The Butakusa, I just hate that stuff. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's see what we've been doing, and again, because these are not selected tweets, I'm just going to skip over the less interesting ones. But let's go through and see what we got here. This is interesting. For a long time, actually, a lot of people, of course, North Korea always denied that there were any abductees, and then all of a sudden they basically let slip that there were 12 that they released, and then they said all the rest were dead and produced death certificates for the rest of them. When Japan looked in, Japan realized, hey, you know what, there might actually be like 50. And just like before this, when there were a lot of particularly left-wing in Japan, they associated the Free the Abductees movement with the right wing in Japan, people who are racist and anti-Korean. And so when it turned out to be true, it was quite devastating for the Socialist Party. Pardon me, I just lost my breath for a sec. So it was quite tough for them. And even now, you get a lot of liberals, including foreign people online, who sort of say, well, Japan is still carrying on about the abductee thing when it's over, which is what North Korea says. But interestingly enough, there's reports that one of the listed Japanese abductees turned up in a Red Cross hospital in Pyongyang this week, which means that maybe maybe Japan has been right about this. And the thing is that I know that North Korea seems like a very closed Disneyland to the rest of the world, and it is in many ways, but at the same time, information does come in and out. There are, and starting with which there are a lot of North Koreans in Japan. Second of which, of the people who go in and out of North Korea, many of them are Japanese and Japanese resident North Koreans. And information has ways of coming back and forth, and it's not always reliable, but it's an interesting one. Anyway, the whole issue is fascinating. The fact that they kidnap these people just to train their spies, which the argument always made against it was, well, that's completely unnecessary because there are 300,000 third, fourth, fifth generation of North Korean citizens who were born in Japan 4 generations. Think about a fourth or fifth generation American. Well, these are the equivalent, except they're North Koreans born in Japan, but who would happily go over to North Korea and train their spies how to act Japanese. And the North Korean government didn't trust their own diaspora, their own citizens over in Japan, who send them shitloads of money from pachinko and from North Korean government-run businesses in Japan. They send back all this money. They've been loyal through a lot of tough times. And it turned out that their own government didn't trust them enough to actually ask them to help train their spies. They actually abducted regular, everyday Japanese people. So that was, that was pretty tough. Thank you for the advice, Corfa. I should do it. It is partly just the talking thing. I think it's the vibration that shakes it loose, which is indeed annoying. But yes. You know what? I wonder. Master mute. Let me just see if I can mute myself quickly and blow my nose. I think that worked. It might have worked. Did that work? Tell me if I was able to successfully mute that blowing of nose. If so, then I'm going to use it, because I'm sorry to make you listen to that. Yeah, this doesn't look very smart that the CIA is announcing it's going to launch a cyber attack on Russia. I don't understand the world anymore. That just looks interesting. These are the most... I haven't seen this one yet, but I bookmarked it, because I am interested to hear you talk about why is Japan sexless and why. And I wonder, frankly, if it really is. It worked. Hey, thanks for that, Musashi Mark. That's good to know. This is a really good read. Again, I don't want to talk too much about Trump and the US election, because I'm sick of it. But I've read two really, really, really good accounts. I will do that. It's very easy to do, Phoenix, so I will do it again. It's just a simple click of a button. But yes, and Afix, if you like, I can make the whole hour like that. This is a really good article. It's basically talking about what it's like coming from these sort of depressed rural areas and how much it sort of sucks, and why these people. The tone is a little bit odd, but basically they're saying that if you look at a map based on previous election, this is Obama won based on those little blue islands surrounded by sparsely populated red, and those areas have been economically smashed, and the people in them are sort of hopeless, and the blue people sort of laugh at them. And that's why they're all supporting Trump, more or less. The blue islands occur in an ocean of red. The cities are less than 4% of the landmass, but 62% of the population, and easily 99% of the popular culture. Movies, shows, songs all come from those little blue islands. And if you live in the red, that sucks. And this person goes into a very lucid explanation of why Trump, for all of his flaws, is still really, really popular with people who just feel like they've been shafted. Where they live, they've been ignored by the elites and mocked by the elites, and they want to throw a brick through the window back at them. And this seems like a good way to do it. Damn, it's kicking in. I'm sorry about this. It's a very good read. It's kind of saying what people, I guess, intuitively know. But you know what? Reading this, I was just thinking, damn, if someone would afford this to Trump's speechwriters, or especially before the next debate, he could really, if he really hit those pressure points and recognize this as his audience, he could really, it's pretty powerful stuff to recognize. Hey, Nippon Culture Quest, great to see you. So what else we got here? There's someone, a blog here talking about the history of how Shibuya Station got to be such a fucking mess. Which it is. I mean, it's always been kind of complicated, but it's gotten, with the latest upgrades of the new lines, and it's become really unnavigable. It's become a station that, rather than a station where everybody used to get off to meet, it's now a station that I proactively avoid trying to go through if I can, just because it's such a mess, which is a shame. And Afix, I kind of agree. It's just well, I think that she's getting away. She kind of gets a free pass. And she should come under a lot of scrutiny. That said, I thought Bill Clinton was a good president. From outside, I wasn't living in America, but from a global perspective. So I don't know what it should be like. But at the same time, she's already shown her track record on Japan, which, frankly, I don't think is all that great. Not that Trump looks like he's going to be any better. So who knows? But I certainly can understand the discontent that's come up to support Trump. But anyway, yes, this is awesome. If you have a look at this, I tweeted this earlier today where I was explaining that is called a Nyangosta. Nyangosta. He or she is the mascot character representative of Aomori Prefecture. And have a look at, you can see the sort of audience there sitting there kind of quietly and politely. Nyangosta is going, apeshit crazy on the drums. You have to click on this and watch this mascot play drums. And I'm telling you, it's good. It's like better than good. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, so yes, it attracted comments from Nichan just how crazy it was. I can't really play it for you properly because of this, but go and watch it anyway. The link is there. Oh, I'm going to do the mute thing. I'll be 1 second. given that I go away and I come back red-faced and I'm wiping my nose, it probably looks like I'm doing coke lines over here, doesn't it? I wish. No, it's this horrible time of year for me. Phoenix, I said it's Aomori, not Akita, and 2, the Namahage is the mythical monster that terrorizes Akita. It's not the current Kawaii mascot, although that said, I don't know what the exact mascot is. But wrong, yeah, dude, that's like confusing Iowa and Idaho. So anyway, carrying on, what else we got here? Yes, the government has an Improving the Working Life of Japanese People's campaign, and yes, get this Dentsu suicide is proving an impetus for that. What else we got here? I was talking a little bit today about, this is crazy, the BBC, the number 3 story of the BBC is featuring the 1-year national mourning of Thailand, a massive country of 60-80 million people, with massive economic and political repercussions and geopolitical repercussions for the entire region. China could be grabbing influence with the new crown prince. A pivot from west to east, the fallout throughout ASEAN, hundreds of millions of people facing, uncertainty and, possible economic disruption for the next, 12 months or more. So the BBC covers the 3rd story, that Bangkok's red light district turns black. And just so that you guys know, I've never actually been to, is it Pat Pong, I think is the name of it, and I believe it is the size of 2 city blocks. People who have gone there, who I've talked to, say it's really surprisingly small, the area that it occupies. It is where all the sex tourists go to. And again, I don't know why BBC is reporting on a pretty significant international event in a pretty significant country based on the 2-block red light district, other than, I don't know, maybe it's just that they expect that most British people who read the BBC are most interested in what's happening in the sex district. It's borderline offensive that this is the number 3 story, that this is how the BBC wants to cover Thailand. Thailand is an awesome country, and this 2 blocks of Pat Pong do such a disservice to it. I loves AKB48. I did get butter today, I did actually, and it was good. It was good butter, but never enough. I don't know, seriously, what's wrong with the BBC? You know what, I was telling a story today. Oh yes, that's right, I found an Amazon comment review here. So this is in Japanese, but this is related to a specific kind of very famous IT blow up. This is a comment review. They get giving 2 stars to a book, which is basically the book is about the IT disaster that happened at Mizuho Bank. When Mizuho Bank, which formed as an amalgamation of a bunch of other banks, when they joined and they unified all their systems, all of the internal bank systems failed, and basically the ATM stopped working and people couldn't take out money for like weeks and weeks, and it was probably the biggest IT disaster in Japan history. And it's repeated. There have been some of the follow-ups to trying to fix it as well. If you work in IT in Japan, every IT company's been involved in this. Companies I've worked in have been involved in this project as well. I've never worked directly in it, and I don't have any particular knowledge of what was going on or what was wrong with it. But this person, who claims to have been involved in one of those IT companies, who was involved in the debacle at Mizuho, wrote this really long comment. Basically, this is probably better than the book. It's kind of long, and if you can't read Japanese, I'm sorry. But it basically talks about how internally all of the dynamics that caused the project to fail, that the book didn't adequately cover, including, as they saw it, the fight back and resistance to the unification IT project of the internal IT teams, and how they deliberately basically undermined the success of the project through basically refusing to cooperate, demanding patches on everything, and kind of made it a system that would fail. And the thing for me is that while I don't know anything about that particular case, it's very typical of every SI integration I've ever dealt with in Japan, and why IT just sucks in Japan so badly. And this person's basically a survivor of a famous nuclear explosion of an IT disaster. I can read it to you. In fact, you know what? I'm almost tempted to, except it's a little bit too long. I would say if you can read it, if you're interested in IT in Japan, it's there. What I put on my tweet for it was, I said, look, the issues that describes are typical, although that's an extreme case, and I went through, so let's go through in sequence. Yeah, he says that basically the internal resistance and harassment of the project was tantamount to deliberate sabotage. In the link, and it continues on, the revelation that rumors spread internally ahead of the cutover that employees should take out money, they should take out their salary 2 or 3 months before the cutover, because internal employees knew that this was going to happen, according to this comment, and that they wouldn't be able to take money out, so they were like rushing the banks, their own bank basically, in the knowledge that it would be impossible to take money out. And then I talk about, well, the shit I have seen. I once had a project come to me for advice on how to get a customer to stop physically assaulting team members. I said, call the fucking cops. They said that they wanted to raise it in a less threatening way because they wanted to kind of try to get the client leaders to help them out, and which made me think, well, you know what, thinking back now, maybe Tina Turner's divorce lawyer was probably asked for similar advice, how to settle this thing without actually putting the person in jail. Now, I eventually found a solution. The contract of that project had an anti-Yakuza clause, which said that in addition to not being allowed to be Yakuza, you also had to, you could terminate the contract immediately if there was extortion, intimidation, physical threats, or assault. So I thought, great, we can just say we've got the Yakuza clause. You're not allowed to, please stop assaulting our people. And then I realized, oh, it won't work because it only goes one way from us to them. They don't owe that obligation to us. But in any case, if you're afraid of going to the cops, it's probably just as awkward going to their bosses and invoking the Yakuza clause and asking them to behave better. So yeah, that was just a crazy case. And I've got lots of those, but it's still too fresh and I can't really talk about them. Interesting one here in Japanese also. This lady is apparently one of the only Google employee out of the first 27 who's still working, I guess who's not a founder, and talks about how they avoided the big company syndrome, which, talking to some people in Google, I'm not sure that they have actually avoided. I mean, it's kind of inevitable when a company becomes too big, but they're definitely still a big company now. So what else have we got? Let's keep going through. Canon is sending a 5D into orbit. That should be pretty cool. What was that? I don't remember what this is, but it doesn't matter. Oh, this is talking about debate over having the emperor being able to abdicate. Beppa City is about to conduct a nationwide survey on attitudes towards tattooed foreigners on onsen to try to help form policy, i.e. they're looking for a consensus to allow it. But they don't want to do it against people's wishes, and particularly locally. So they're trying to get a kind of a nationwide picture, which they can use as a justification for being able to allow tattooed foreigners more into onsens, especially with the Olympics coming. This is an interesting name for a hair salon. This is where I actually go myself. That's Slutty Hair Salon. Right? No, I don't know. Maybe not, but. That is there. This is the other good reading on Trump, actually, and it's an evaluation by John Kasich, who of course is now out of the picture, but it seemed to me, out of a pretty appallingly bad field of GOP candidates, like the closest thing to someone reasonable. And he talks a lot about what's happened to the Republican Party, and this was another good read that I had today. Anyway. Coen Brothers are doing a Silk Road movie. I like this floor. I just want this floor. I want to live in an apartment with that floor. I'm going to have to blow my nose again, so one sec. Seriously, I feel like I'm bending down and doing coke lines or something like you see in the movies. It's kind of cool. I haven't seen the new Rogue One trailer yet, but I want to see it, and I do love the Kylo Ren rage reaction, so I'm saving that one up to go watch it. Japanese tips for Japanese people and traveling alone, which is something I think Japanese should do more. This is awful. Another case of working to death that happened this week. There was a recognized case by the Ministry of Health, Labour Welfare of a Filipino who was working in Japan under the special intern trainee visa scheme, which is basically just a tech transfer sort of apprenticeship scheme. The person worked at not below minimum wage, which is associated with the scheme, but actually at minimum wage, I believe, in something like a steel processing factory. Died after doing a 122-hour overtime month, so the same as the Dentsu person who committed suicide. It's by the way, 4,000 yen for a haircut, like at a proper hair salon, is pretty normal here. The cuts here are pretty good. I mean, they don't use clippers or anything like that. They're pretty good quality. But yeah, anyway, I definitely don't spend that anymore. I think even my own hair clippers that I have used for years are not even worth that much. So yes, this person, Filipino guy in Japan with a family back in the Philippines that he was sending money back to, died from overwork, and it's been recognized as death from overwork. So it doesn't just happen to Japanese people, and it does again raise the thing. Some people say it's the old Japanese gunpowder spirit that leads to it, and it's not. People. There are these work conditions. There's an atmosphere here. I've worked. You know what? I'm just thinking. Have I ever worked 120 hours overtime? I have worked 80. I mean, so what's the most? I've done like 300 in a month, and that's based on 160 being normal hours. So 280 would be, so that'd be 280 hours. I've done that when I was working in a law firm maybe twice, like 2 months, and those were really, really rough months. So if that carried on, I could get that. When I worked as an IT consultant, again, really rough times, I've probably gotten near that. And in the very worst one, I've had heart palpitations and stuff. But this is the whole point. It's not just that this is something that happens to Japanese people. This happened to a Filipino guy, and it's awful. So what else have we got here? We have some YouTube space videos, a playlist of Ani Yamato videos, and she is awesome. The DPRK news service condemning Gizmodo. Not often you agree with the DPRK news service. Apparently the special reporter on freedom of expression who came to do a survey of Japan was being tracked by people who were monitoring, basically. Basically they put spies on this person. I don't know if it was a David K. And the Minister of Communications, Sanae Takaichi, refused to meet with him. So that's a bit of an odd way to treat a reporter for free speech. Robert Alden, you did a 90-hour week once, and by the way, 90-hour week. Damn, that's crazy. 90-hour week. So that is so again, I think in months, that's a 360 month. I have heard in the legal field of a 400-hour month. So that is 100-hour weeks, 4 weeks in a row. That's the most I've ever heard, and I'm pretty sure that person got very sick. Although it's funny, I know that guy's wife. She was at my firm. He was at a different firm. But that is crazy. I've never done anything close to that much, actually. Robert, you would. That's not even double shifts. That's just like, working while sleeping, pretty much. Crazy. What else have we got here? This is, by the way, again, if you're interested, this is the one for Japanese, but if you're interested in signing up for Rochelle's seminars that are in Tokyo, use Hiko30, you get a 30% discount if that helps you sell the idea to work. Hey Ty, good to see you, man. I'm so jealous Ty got to go and see D'Antwoord live. I like D'Antwoord. I like the whole setup. I like the and I've been seeing them, like, they've been through a few image changes, but I think I followed them from pretty much from the pretty early days anyway, when they were playing kind of a South African redneck suburban dysfunctional sort of family kind of setup. It was kind of the music is great. I love the whole thing. Oh man, no, so I'm really jealous you got to go to that, Thai. And I love looking at the pictures and the clips that you took of that. What else have we got here that's interesting? I love this. So my favorite thing about crime stories in Japan is that the police basically prepare a confession that the person signs, in order to basically make it easier that the police don't have to work very hard, and they release that to the press. Look, we did our job, case solved, good work, team. But it's basically they just draft out, a confession of what they guess the facts must be, and that the person's willing to sign up to. So the confession that was signed from this American pro wrestler who was caught at Kansai International Airport with some vape tubes with marijuana contained in them, this was his confession. Hard to imagine an American pro wrestler writing this, but he said, Mr. Korichep, it has its moments. Thai, I would love to go to a concert with you. Hopefully it'll happen sometime. Well, if you get over here, let's try to do that, because there are lots of them in Japan. Here's the confession of a pro wrestler, supposedly by himself. Due to troubles at home and life in general, I started smoking marijuana. At a store, I was advised to start smoking due to the resulting high, and I continued so that my body would feel more agile. And that is the confession of a WWE former superstar caught with weed in his vape kit coming in through Kansai Airport. Again, the police just wrote this down. He just signed it because they probably told him he could leave if he signed it, and he'd get a slap on the wrist or sent home. And I guess that's what's going to happen. But these confessions are crazy. And yes, there is a documentary going around from Al Jazeera at the moment on how these forced confessions are done. This is probably not that forced. This is just the routine. You just come in, and obviously they caught the stuff on him, and they said, look, you can dispute it. You can be in jail here for a year waiting to go to trial, and you'll get extra punished for putting up a fight. Or you can just sign a confession now. We'll even come up with the mitigating reasons why you did it. We'll come up with some reasons for you. Just sign it and you can leave. Which would you rather do? And the guy would just go, sure, just give me something to sign, I'll sign it. He probably, I don't know if he could even read it, or if they read it to him, he sounds, yeah, close enough, and signed it. But yeah, some of these, this isn't so bad, but some of these stories which you hear sometimes are, I kill people because I just felt like killing someone that day. Well, you have these very matter-of-fact kind of confessions, which are always, they're a bit funny. But point being, although this looks kind of benign, do not fuck with the police in Japan, ever. Seriously, you do not want to get into an interrogation situation with the police here, because they own you. You don't have civil rights here, and it's not just because you're a foreigner. Even if you're Japanese, if you get arrested and taken into detention by the police, or even worse, by the immigration police, you are fucked. Really, even if you're innocent, actually, and this is the whole problem that documentary points out. If you are innocent, you are actually, hey Lara, great to see you. You are actually more fucked if you're innocent, because the problem is that by saying you're innocent, you will increase the penalty and the pressure and the abuse on yourself. So some of these people who have gotten away with, being in jail and found innocent 10 years later, and what they went through, for simply saying the truth that they were innocent. And again, this is why a lot of people who are innocent, when they're told you can stay in jail for a year and wait for this to come to trial, will just sign a stupid confession, I don't care what you say, and go home and be processed. And you can have a record, but at least you can go home. A lot of people would sign up to that, or they would under enough pressure. And that's what happens here. By the way, cannabis beer. Yes, you can buy cannabis beer in Japan. They grow it legally in Niigata. Hemp is a big part of Japanese culture. Not the smoking of it, but in Shinto religion and traditional ropes and all those sort of things. You go to any Shinto shrine, all the ropes and stuff that you see, that's all made from hemp. And they grow it. There's licensed hemp farms. It was the Americans and GSQ after World War II that forced the hey Lara, that forced the outlawing of marijuana and hemp. It was a major industry in Japan, just growing it for all sorts of purposes during the war. And before the war, the emperor was the patron of the marijuana, of the hemp and marijuana industry in Japan. GHQ outlawed it because they wanted Japan to buy American synthetic products instead of Japanese natural grown sort of products. And now it's treated, with this huge stigma. But yes, you can buy hemp beer. It tastes great. Makes you a bit giggly. I've had it before. I mean, it's not easy to find, but at Fuji Rock Festival and stuff, and there is legally grown, all of that stuff, even though it is treated the same as cocaine. But in any case, don't mess with the drug laws in Japan. Do not mess with the police, or you'll be in one of these stories with another odd-looking confession. This looks like fun. What else have we got here? What is this? This is the okay, this is the liberalization of power supply, so you don't really want to know about that. That's rockets. This is 2.5 Oyajis last night. A new Alexa speaker, which looks pretty cool. In Saga, there is a huge gathering of town mascots at the moment. This is a new USB mic that's getting rave reviews. Blue is considered the best, USB mic maker. I use a SAMSON, not a Samsung, but a Samsung. And it works pretty well. I quite like it, but this is kind of tempting. This is getting great reviews. Hey Lara, that's cool. Good news on the interview. All the best with that. I don't say good luck. I have the suspicion thing. Not a suspicion. I have a superstition thing. I don't like. It's a show business thing. It's bad luck to wish someone good luck. I always find people wish you good luck when they think you're in trouble. So I always ask people to not wish me good luck. So I don't say it. I always say, do your best. But anyway, all the best with your interview. That's cool. A movie shot with mirrorless cameras. That is pretty cool. The English Creator Day. So this is the event. In fact, this is being forwarded by Rochelle, and this will be awesome. Oh no, sorry, that's different. This is for the Creator Day. Why is this coming up in here? Okay, well, in any case, I don't think I created this one, but this is for my Creator Day event. This is a Google alert. Okay, so this is something that came up about a public, probably because I made the event public. But anyway, that is cool. What else we got here? We got this thing is kind of crazy. I don't know if you've seen this, but this is like a little laptop with wheels on it that a Japanese person invented that can race along. I don't know how this is possibly safe or going to be legal, given that the Segway was illegal in Japan. I'm pretty sure this is going to be pretty it's going to be very difficult to get registered, I think, but it'll be good for carrying suitcases or stuff like that. But I think it's also going to be great for having spectacular accidents, and most of the internet seems to agree with that. Adam Savage from Mythbusters dressed up as Totoro, and it was awesome. What else we got? We got Kekkon shitemo, even if you're married, you can live in a share house. Some Japanese giving advice on living in share houses. An article here on why is it that Japanese can score 900, which is a pretty high score on an English proficiency test, and still not be able to speak English. More on working to death. This is where I learned about the FHRITP and was watching compilations last night in shock and awe, and was quite entertained by them. Inada's been sucking at cross-examination in Parliament. This is a documentary that I think was being mentioned before. Rocket News was featuring this. Japan, guilty until proven innocent, made by Al Jazeera. You should Google this and watch it. I haven't watched it myself yet, but the subject is well known, and indeed, as they say there, you should confess for your own sake. They do offer a lot of incentives for innocent people to confess, and the police want you to do it just because they don't want to work. And it's kind of a messed up system. So there you go. Worth looking this one up. I've seen some people who have seen this and they recommend it. A lot of people are recommending this, and I've been meaning to see it myself. So there you go. What else we got here? Yes. This is just another thing I want to watch. These are 3 New Zealanders, NZBCs as we call them, New Zealand-born Chinese, talking about living in New Zealand all at the same time. Here's the thing. Again, even when I talk with New Zealanders now, the New Zealand I know is from 1995, so I probably can't. These people probably weren't even born then. But I'm kind of interested to watch this. They're getting a lot of. This is featured on Tube Filter as a pretty good YouTube-based series, which is good to see. It's good to see some creativity and some stuff coming out in New Zealand. What have we got here? This is pretty cool. This is just a site that creates 3D printed toys based on kids' drawings, and they look really, really awesome. Kodanshita and the whole Kindle Unlimited drama. There's some stuff there. This is Japan and Australia coming up to the 40th anniversary of their friendship treaty, which kind of surprised me that it's only the 40th anniversary actually. It took them a long time to get around to that after the war. What else we got here that's interesting? So this is more about the investigation, about the working to death and so on, some toys, some GoPro Hero 5. I want to get that best webcams. I want to replace this webcam, and it's saying that I should go and get the Logitech 920C. Yeah, go and have a look, but it did test all of these, including the one that I have, which is that barrel one on the far end, the Microsoft Live Cam, and it says that the Logitech one is better, so maybe it's time to change. What else we got here? Yes, more stuff that I don't want to read, but Richard Smart, he interviewed me for the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan thing on YouTubers, and that was pretty cool. He's a good guy. Here is the SR-71 Blackbird that I saw when I put this on Facebook the other day, and Instagram. This is the one that I saw when I was in Seattle. It was awesome, and I got to sit in a cockpit of a SR-71, and it was cool. For some people who are asking, they do let you sit in the cockpit, but they cover up all of the controls with perspex in front. But it is this weird kind of triangle kind of dome. It's very hard to see out. I couldn't imagine with a full pressurized suit like the pilots would wear. But that is a really cool airplane. Apart from the fact it looks awesome, it is of course also the fastest airplane that ever flew. I mean, other than the X-15, which is technically a rocket. The thing flew like Mach 4.5, right? I mean, insane airplane, and it looks cool. Did I say it looks cool? It looks cool. I've been making a lot of music this last week or so. This is the first one I made since getting back from America. I put a lot of tracks up there, all free to use. They're all Creative Commons, and I think some of them actually sound quite good. Feel free to check them out. I do put love into them. This is one that I've been meaning to watch. This thing about another Pixar sort of short film that they were making in their spare time. AFX, everyone sort of goes for the Logitech cams, but the other thing that attracted me to the Microsoft one was the fact that it manages to retain higher frame rates on high resolution video. Something that the Logitech one, I used to have the top of the line Logitech one, and it was like 15 frames per second, and it looked like shit, but 15 frames per second looks terrible. It looks stuttery all the time, even on the smoother sort of mode, and it was when I got this that things looked a lot smoother. That said, times have changed. I mean, that's like a long time ago now, and if they say that those ones work better, including displaying high frames per second, I'm going to go get them, so there you go. And by the way, Mate Gaijinka, as Mate Gaijinka says, a lot of love goes into all the music made by all the people in Tokyo Digital Crew, including Mate Gaijinka, and lately Dean Bennett, he's in there as well. Tyrant T making some actually really cool. I really like it. It's got a real boom boom satellites type feel on your stuff. I remember I was listening to your stuff, Dean, and I was thinking, this is cool, but it needs some real drums. It needs some hard drums. And then you came in with drums, and I'm like, whoa, okay, that's it. I got nothing I could do with this. This is there, and it's like full on boom boom satellites. I thought that was really good. So thank you for doing that. In fact, you inspired me. Probably my next couple of tracks, I want to kind of make a variation of what you were doing. Lara, I'm dying here. Stormtrooper. Lara is saying something funny, and I see the butthole of the whale. Maybe that's like an Italian expression. I don't know. What are we talking about here? I have to backtrack on this. I have to see this. People are not watching the show because they are distracted by somebody being more entertaining than me. Damn it. We are all fucked up. Okay, so what is being said here? Yes, we have another one too. We said in the middle of the whale. So there was something before. We kind of have the same thing in Italy. Instead of saying the equivalent of good luck, we say in the mouth of the wolf, and you have to answer, it will die. Really? That is kind of freaky. Okay, I will say in the mouth of the wolf next time. And we have another one too, in the butthole of the whale. Damn, the Italians have things to teach us, obviously. And that is one to know. In the butt of a whale, I'm going to say that to the next person I see, and run away. I'm going to run away after I say it. what else have we got here? This is cool. I'm an English lit person. Shakespeare is awesome. I know it has this idea that it's kind of stuck up and people wearing tights and speaking in hard to understand ways. But Shakespeare, seriously, the shit is really good. I mean, you get into it, it's deep, it's multi-layered, it's like, it's 500 years old and it's it can be funny and moving. Shakespeare is awesome. It really is. If you want to get into Shakespeare, here's this amazing chart on how to pick a Shakespeare play. Based on your mood, what sort of play that you like. It's a great chart, and I couldn't recommend it enough. This is the leader of the opposition. Renho, she used to be an Asahi beer model. She'd hold these things and wear a swimsuit and pose, and she's quite hot. Her father is Taiwanese. As a result, by default, she holds dual citizenship. Japanese law requires that you renounce the other citizenship, but they don't follow it up. But there again, it is a requirement for civil servants that they not hold citizenship of other countries. And it turned out she hadn't properly revoked the Taiwanese citizenship, so she's been going about that. But she said that she had put in the paperwork to renounce her Taiwanese citizenship, and the Taiwanese government said no, she hasn't. And nationalists in Japan are giving her a hard time about it, which is really not justified, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, it's drawing a lot of negative attention to people with multiple citizenships, because again, particularly in the civil service and so on, there are rules that you have to be a Japanese citizen and you have to be not a citizen of a foreign country, which in itself, particularly when you think of the large percentage of people in Japan who are foreign citizens but are born here in multiple generations, it gets a bit messed up, but that is what that is about. What else we got here? Insights, Germany, job cuts for Fujitsu, UNESCO, Japan withholding funding for UNESCO over including China's application for the massacre of Nanking in the collective memory of the world for UNESCO. What else have we got here? Haters Back Off on Netflix is meant to be good. This is the YouTube-born drama. This is Emily Louise Maitland recommends, and she's holding a cupcake, so how can you say no to that? What else have we got here? Rugby results, free apps for studying Japanese, always good to know. Nippon.com, great source of information. I retweet a lot of their stuff. Mensho Ramen, I love Mensho Ramen in Tokyo. They've got a shop in San Francisco and it's got a pretty good rep. Just in case you think that maybe the kids are a little bit better, well, no, they're not. But again, people don't really care. Obviously, they're voting for him because they just want to throw a brick through a window, and a big orange furry brick, why not, with small fingers, why not? I do kind of get that, actually. Some comfort women are taking the money. Russia just gave Ivan the Terrible his first statue either. I thought this was funny. Russia announces the Ivan the Terrible to officially be known henceforth as Ivan the Awesome. I mean, I'm not saying that Russia's going a bit crazy with the nationalism, but I think Russia's going a bit crazy with the nationalism. Yeah, that's a funny one. New station planned on the Yamanote line. This is the children's pictures turned into figurines by 3D printer that I was talking about earlier. That is awesome. I mean, this sort of thing does make me want to get a 3D printer, even though that technology hasn't really caught on properly. And check it out, my notes has been fine for like the last 30 minutes or so that's pretty good. I don't know, is there anything else here that's sort of interesting? There's Dentsu, there's photos, there's the Mayor of Tokyo. This is a fake news article about someone who was angry. Somebody beat their dad because he came home with something that wasn't the new PlayStation virtual reality thing. That is, of course, a Virtua Boy, and if you have one of those now, that thing's probably worth like 10 grand. I mean, those things are like, of course, they're completely bombed at the time they were released, but because of that, they're super rare. That is the original virtual reality console. So that is pretty cool. Nintendo from the 90s. But yeah, that's a great piece of fake news. Some scaffolding. Pipe from scaffolding at construction at Roppongi Hills fell down, hit a 77-year-old man and killed him this week. That would suck. It did suck, obviously. Be careful walking around, I guess, but they're going to look into how that happened. Showa Shell and Idemitsu were going to have a merger. Showa Shell is Shell, basically the petrol company, the Japanese arm of that, which is 50% set up with, I believe, money from Shell. It's a foreign capital company. Idemitsu is a purely Japanese domestic gasoline company. By the way, it may interest you to know that most of the Japanese gasoline, from what I understand, still comes from Iran. Iran and Japan, great buddies, and Japan highly dependent on Iran for oil, which is why it always gets an exclusion from all of the US sanctions, which causes trouble with the US. So apparently, they are struggling, however, and they're looking at doing a tie-up, and the CEOs of each company agreed that they were going to do that they're going to merge. But apparently, the founder of Idemitsu, some crazy old 90-something-year-old guy, the original founder, came and he vetoed it, saying that a foreign capital company can never successfully merge with a Japanese company. It's like trying to graft a tree onto a bamboo shoot. They're just never going to work. It's just foreign culture will never successfully work with true Japanese culture like our company, and he vetoed it. And everyone was standing around looking very awkward in the press conference, saying that they postponed it because Idemitsu has a crazy racist old founding president who vetoed it, and that's pretty much what it was. It sounded like he was, seriously, the statement that he released, like, for his reasoning for opposing the merger, sounded like he was opposing the marriage of his daughter to a Swedish diplomat, rather than the opposition of a corporate merger. But there we go. Hey, someone's birthday. Is that Ben Duncan's birthday? Hey, Ben, happy birthday. I'm not going to sing it for you, but happy birthday all the same. Good to see people are still having birthdays out there. Why not? I'm going to have mine in a month from now, I suppose. Yeah, that's not really, although there again, I can barely even, you get to a certain age where you stop being able to remember when your birthday is. I'm hitting that point now. Okay, behave. This is an interesting one. I guess people here, if you read anything on Japan and all the controversial stuff about Japan before you come to Japan, you'll read about buraku. Buraku are lower caste Japanese. They're made up of Japan used to have a 6-layer caste system during the closed country period. The lowest 2 castes consisted of, the lowest caste was criminals who could come from any background. The lowest born caste, the caste above that wasn't criminals, was called eta, were people who worked in unclean professions that were, for example, involved the slaughter of animals, which was considered unclean in terms of Buddhism. And those 2 castes together, if you were from any one of those 2 lower castes, again in the old days when people weren't allowed to move around from village to village, and the government, basically Japan was like a big North Korea for about 600 years. If you lived in those 2 things, you were forced to live in in basically a ghetto. Every town would have a ghetto area for where those lowest 2 castes were forced to live. And those zones were called the fallen down district, or literally the buraku. Raku means fall, bu means area, and that's where they were called buraku people. Buraku mean these are the people who live in these areas. And it's almost like they didn't have black people to discriminate against, so they just decided, hey, you're going to be our black people. We're going to make you live in a ghetto and treat you like people during segregation. And they did. And Japan just developed a system of caste-based racism against these people. With criminals, it's kind of understandable, but it's a bit rough on the people who were, because they were just working in leatherworking or shoemaking and stuff like that. And by the way, this isn't exclusive to Japan. The ancient Greeks used to also give leather workers a really hard time. They work with really shitty chemicals that make them smell and all this sort of thing, which means even ancient Greek plays, they would always make fun of shoemakers and tanners. Married with children. Same thing, except, actually in kind of a vicious way. It led to a lot of, highly systematic, highly deeply ingrained cyclical persecution against these people. And frankly, in parts of Japan with long history, like most of West Japan, Kyushu, Kansai, even though it's now illegal to identify a buraku area or someone from a buraku background, everybody who lives in those areas knows where those areas are and who those people are and what surnames from what towns correspond to that. And they intuitively discriminate against them. And they discriminate against them because it's kind of this vicious cycle. If you are discriminated against, you then have no choice but to go and join like a mob syndicate or something like that. And then if you join a mob syndicate, well then the discrimination becomes justified. So it's like, there's this thing even today, the reason that oppose marriage to someone from this sort of a background is the assumption that they must have a gangster or someone in the family, even if they're not a gangster themselves, which is horrible, but it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So to break that cycle, they passed a whole lot of laws that basically made it illegal to keep records of who is Buraku or not, or to discriminate on that basis, and they called it Dowa, which is the character for same, do, and wa Japanese. It bans discrimination against Dowa people, literally highlighting the fact that they may be lower caste, but at least they're not foreigners, so please don't discriminate against them. Kind of a, it makes the idea of discriminating Dowa, as being kind of absurd from a terminology perspective, but it also has that slightly discomforting aspect that they're saying, hey, we may be racist, but at least we're, or we may be low caste, but at least we're not foreigners, kind of like Dowa, like why is Dowa better? But yes, and if you want to find out about this whole thing, you should talk to people from Kyushu and Kansai. If you talk to anyone from Tohoku, Hokkaido, even most parts of Tokyo, people don't know about this because frankly Tokyo is mostly new. People came from other regions, mostly like escaping from Kansai or coming from northeast Japan looking for jobs. There's no deep history. There are some neighborhoods in Tokyo, and that's what this talks about, the perception that there are no Buraku in Tokyo. There are. They're all in Shitamachi. And it's relatively small compared to, of course, what you get in Kyoto or Osaka or Kyushu. But it exists, but it's kind of talks about the modern phenomenon of Buraku discrimination and where it all comes from, and it's very interesting. So, yes, you should. And don't be don't be mean to the Saino Dosu guy. I don't know if it's just the face that you don't like, but it's an interesting discussion anyway, and whether it still exists in Tokyo. A lot of foreigners read about this and they think, oh, I know something controversial, but actually, most Japanese don't deal with this anymore, particularly, well, again, it depends on where you are. West Japan, they know. Tokyo, they really don't know. Really? Robert Ryan? Well, when I did classics, classical studies, and if you do Aristophanes, he basically always likes to mock other when they mock other writers in the plays, they'd highlight if someone was the son of a tanner, like as if that was a really bad insult. It's a big Greek thing that you would, that you would insult people who were the son of tanners. But yes, apparently that's just what my old teacher told me. What else we got here? We are coming up on the hour. I've got some music. Go and check out my music. All the stuff is edited. I won't play an outro tonight. Let's just see if there's anything else super interesting to talk about. Why you need to visit Kochi? Kochi is great. I've never been there, but I've got friends from there. You can surf there. The food is awesome. It's on the Pacific side, but it's quite close to Osaka as well, so you should go there. Aku is saying thank you. I hope you got it. If you don't eat fish, is it a bad idea to move to Japan? No. It's not, but you should also change your eating habits when you come here. There are Japanese who don't eat fish. It's a normal country. I'd agree with that. Totally. I mean, I don't eat, like fish a lot. There's fish in a lot of stuff, but you wouldn't notice it. Like they use it like as a substitute for salt, like, sometimes. Oh yeah, this is super awesome. I showed this tie like this. These are little gifs, and the correct pronunciation is gifs, of how Japanese, and this is like for hundreds of years, it's how they did all this joinery of buildings. This is really cool, so have a look at this. They don't use nails in these old castles and stuff. There we go. Maybe you can or can't see that, but that stuff is really cool. And I've got a whole bunch of examples like this of how these work. Let me play that. So and they've built like the biggest wood structures in the world this way without using that are super strong, and they don't use nails. It's really, really cool, and it's kind of mesmerizing, so it's worth looking at. New tools from Periscope, more Trump, more family restaurants, Eon malls. What's happening with that? Apparently a French frozen food restaurant chain called Picard, which I can only think of as Star Trek frozen food, is coming to Aoyama. I don't know if it's going to be any good. Has anyone heard of Picard supermarkets? I'd say, make it so. Go there. We talked a little bit last night about this, about the racist Asahi. Asahi is known as like the New York Times of Japan. It is the liberal champion of foreigners and downtrodden people in Japan. But there was this episode on the airport train to Kansai where some old Japanese guy was complaining at all the foreigners jamming up the place. And the conductor actually apologized for the inconvenience being caused by all of the foreigners. And the Asahi News coverage of it, someone posted a picture of it. They posted a graphic basically showing all of the ethnicities of the world all sitting on a train, all beating up on a small Japanese woman. It was it was pretty awful, especially for the Asahi to be taking kind of and the advice was, even if foreigners are noisy or whatever, you shouldn't say it because it doesn't look good. They're saying, even if your racism is justified, don't say foreigner. Don't let it show. Which was just yes. And I don't. Well, yes, I don't care. I'm a Star Wars guy. I'm not a Trekkie. I'm sorry. The news goes on and on and on, but it's been an interesting week. Will continue to be an interesting week. Come and join me on Friday. Check out my Facebook page for the information on. Come and watch live on Friday night, 8 p.m. Japan time, for an interactive session where you can give questions to Rochelle on the differences between Japanese and American companies and what it's like to work in Japan, and the cultural issues that come up. Hey, very good to see Travis Moore there. And and we'll be back next weekend with more 2.5 Oyajis and of course Tokyo tonight. So great to see you all. I'm going to go and get some sleep because we are back to work tomorrow, and I hope you're all good, and check it out, the nose is better. Beam me up, Chewbacca. Hope you guys all have a good week, and good to see you all, and boom, peace, and check tunes. See you later.